Okay, well, this concept map is going to be a little fun because we're going to get to draw some pictures. The section is called Picturing Distributions of Data. And first of all, let's talk about what does it mean to be a distribution. And we're talking about what is the data, how's the data spread? Okay, so when we're talking about the distribution, we're really just talking about, we're just really talking about the spread of the data. So when we picture the spread, we're taking a snapshot is what I like to think of it. We're creating some sort of a snapshot of what this data is. That's my photographer. Let's say his name is Pierre. We'll put a little beanie on his head. Okay. All right, so here is Pierre. He's taking a picture of the distribution. Okay. Now we're going to look at 4 different categories. Okay, 4 different types of pictures. We're going to look at bar graphs and 2 varieties, the typical bar graph and then 2 more varieties of bar graphs. We're going to look at pie charts. We did some of these when we did our environmental study in class. We're going to look at line graphs. A line plot. And then we're also going to look at what happens when we do binned data, which we talked about in the last slide. And really, we're going to give those a special name. We're going to call those histograms. All right, so 4 different things that we're going to describe for pictures of data. First of all, let's start with that bar graph. Okay, so I'm just going to sketch it out here. That's why this is going to be so much fun. So if you had a bar graph, along here you're going to have some sort of a title and some sort of, this is probably going to be the frequency over here. Okay, and then we're going to have increments along the bottom and increments along the side. And then we're going to have these bars here. You know, you've seen these. Characteristics of these types of bar graphs are that the bars are not touching, okay? There's space there. The width of these bars has no meaning. The height, however, does have meaning because the height has to deal with the frequency. Now, a close relative to the bar graph is what we call a dot plot. So this is a subcategory. And with dot plots, we just are a little bit more straightforward. We still have the graph. We still have the titles and the frequency. We still have the increments. However, the difference here is we're going to show the frequency using a series of dots. Those dots are going to be very carefully drawn so that they show how many, what the frequency is in each one of those particular increments on the table. And then the last one that's kind of in this category is a kind of a funny name. It's called a Pareto. Pareto. And the only thing really that's people would throw this term around. Wow, it's a Pareto. Don't go crazy about this. The only thing about a Pareto is it's a bar graph, all right? Just like the other bar graph that we looked at, it's got a frequency, it's got a title or a label down here, it's got increments. But the big difference between this is when we have a Pareto, the bars go down in size. You're going to have your biggest one over here. Your next biggest one is going to be next to it. Your next tallest one is going to be next to it, and so on, so that we have this look of descending bars. That's what a Pareto is. And I want to specify here that with a Pareto, we're normally talking about nominative data, nominative data. I don't think I spelled that right, but you'll forgive me. So blue, green, red, yellow, something that's just a label. Okay, so that's our first of the four, bar graphs and their families. All right, next, pie charts. I think we're really good at understanding and what a pie chart is. You're looking at a circle. The circle has segments, and the segments are really divided into arcs, and the arcs are, hold on a second, talk and do this at the same time is difficult. So there's 360 degrees around this circle. So if I gave you a segment that looked like this, you would say, hey, that's 25%. That's 1/4 of the circle, right? And if I took the rest of the circle and I divided it in half, well, that's 25 away from 100. That's going to leave 75 between these two. Half the 75, 37.5%. So when you're looking at a pie chart, there's a little bit of math going on in the background, but that doesn't usually get in the way of you understanding what the pie chart is. All right, moving over to line data. Line data is different in that you're going to have a title and increments. Sometimes I call these tick marks across the bottom. And I've got frequencies over here. Notice that frequency is a popular thing in our charts. And we're going to look at, let's say that this is 10, this is 20, this is 30, okay? And for each one of these increments, there's going to be some frequency. Dot that goes there, a dot that goes there, a dot that goes there, a dot that goes there. And so each one of those increments is going to have a frequency, and then the line graph is just going to be a line that connects each individual dot. I know you've seen these before, right? That's what we call a line plot, a line graph. And there's a subcategory of these, and the subcategory is going to be when we have something called a time series. It's easy. Don't go crazy about it. The only difference with the time series is these usually along the bottoms, maybe they're going to be months, maybe they're going to be years. Let's say this is 1900. This is going to be the year 2000, and we've got those years in between. And we've got frequencies along the side, and for each one of these dots, we're going to put each one of these tick marks, we're going to put a dot for the right frequency and then connect the dots. And it just gets a special name because it is time. All right, and the last one is called bend, bend, and we're going to call it also a histogram. And they are actually very special and very useful. So we'll talk again and again about histograms. And they look a lot like a bar graph. You're going to have a label. You're going to have tick marks. You're going to have tick marks on the side to mark the frequencies. Okay. Only, just like when we talked about bin data, we're going to have each one of these is going to be covering. So this is from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and so on. And when we take our data, we're going to create these bars, but the bars are going to be right next to each other because they're bin data. There's something fitting in that bin. Same with this. So there's that bin, there's that bin, there's that bin, and maybe there's nothing there, and then there's this one. Okay, let me just add a little color. And I encourage you to do the same. Do you agree? It really does look a lot like our bar graph. So let's talk about the big difference here is we have bin data, right? Bin data. And we have the bars are, the width of the bar is going to be standard. The bars are connected, unlike the bar graph. And let's say I want to just kind of take this particular histogram, and I'm going to say another type of histogram or another type of bin data. Let me move all the way down here so I have a little bit more room. On your paper, you'll find a spot to put it. And I'm going to talk about another subcategory of the histogram. And it's actually what we call a stem and leaf. Or usually we just call it a stem plot. And with a stem plot, it's going to look something like this. You're going to have a line and another line. And we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then maybe we'd have here 0, 5, 7, 9. 1, 1, 5, and 1 and 9. Okay, so that's just what a stem plot looks like. And it's created from a set of data, and the raw data is going to look like this, okay? Notice I've got a 1 and a 0 here. 1, 0. So one of my data points is going to be the number. Sorry. See if I can get this so I can get it. One of my raw data is going to be 10. Okay. Another one is going to be 15. This is the tens place, this is the ones place. So 1, 0, 1, 5, 1, 7, and 1, 9. Those are those four. There's 4 different data points. That's their tens place, that's their ones place. I'm also going to have the point 21, 21, and 25. That's what's represented here. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 5. There's no 30s, but I have a 41 and I have a 49. So what the stem plot does is it really does better than the dot plot, where it just not only shows how many are in the row, but it even shows what the value are. So we do use and particularly love the stem plot. So there you go. That is all of the types of pictures that we talk about in this section. And we will get better at using them and understanding them. And I encourage you to go ahead and do the homework. work on the quiz for, well, actually, we're not ready to do the quiz yet, but get ready to do the next concept map for section 3.3.